In January, US President Donald Trump unveiled his long-awaited plan to resolve the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It said nearly all of occupied East Jerusalem and large parts of the occupied West Bank, including illegal Jewish settlements, should be given to Israel. For Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, it was a breakthrough.
And on this day, you too have charted a brilliant future for Israelis, Palestinians, and the region by presenting a realistic path to a durable peace.
But the Palestinians weren't consulted, and they condemned the plan.
I would like to say to the duo, Trump and Netanyahu, that Jerusalem is not for sale. All our rights are not for sale and not for bargaining. Your conspiracy deal won't pass.
Palestinian protests broke out in the occupied West Bank and Gaza. For Netanyahu, Trump's Middle East plan was important in securing a fifth term in the March elections. But the political turmoil in Israel that started after two inconclusive elections in 2019 was not over, until Israel's former top general Benny Gantz decided to form a coalition with Netanyahu. According to the deal, Netanyahu will hand over the premiership to Gantz at the end of November next year. The latest government took office with an agenda focused on fighting COVID-19 and its economic effects. Israel's first coronavirus case was diagnosed in February. Since then, the government has set up testing centers like this across the country. It's recorded more than 350,000 infections and over 3,000 deaths. To limit the spread of COVID-19, Israel declared two nationwide lockdowns, the first in April and the second in September. Infections went down, but the shutdowns have taken a toll on Israel's economy. Before the pandemic, the unemployment rate was below 4%, but since then it's risen as high as 21%. According to the Central Bureau of Statistics, it now stands at almost 15%. The Bank of Israel forecasts gross domestic product will shrink as much as 6.5% this year. As the government has spent more to deal with the pandemic, its budget deficit has expanded to 11% of GDP. The deficit was less than 4% of GDP last year. While Israel was suffering an economic downturn, it was also making new friends in the region who could expand trade and investment. In August, the United Arab Emirates said it was establishing diplomatic relations with Israel. A month later, Bahrain did the same, and this month it was Morocco. The broker of all these deals was the Trump administration. Middle East analyst Nachum Shiloh says the main reason for these deals is Iran.
Their fear from Iran, and they perceive Israel as an ally against Iran. The fact that the Trump administration was willing to reward the UAE and Bahrain with a lucrative arms deal, especially the F-35, and the fact that they believe in their own view that by stopping or by halting the Israeli decision to annex the West Bank or part of it, they are helping the Palestinian issue and make the two-state solution between Israel and the Palestinian still on the table.
In November, Trump lost his re-election bid to Joe Biden. The president-elect says he wants to reverse Trump's withdrawal from the nuclear deal with Iran. So Netanyahu now faces a new year when he'll lose his best friend in the White House and possibly some pushback from Israel's closest ally. Mustafa Fatih, TRT World, occupied East Jerusalem.